Okay, so we're in a brand new 4.21. So this will be lessons going forward with newer versions of Blender until there is a major release. So I'm in 4.21 LTS right here. And we need this lesson to make our previous lessons updated. Some of them are a few months old, some of them are a lot older, but let's bring them up to speed with the new engine Eevee next, or they just simply call it Eevee now, and we'll explain that as we go along. Okay, I will attach an image in our homework or weekly lesson that you can kind of follow along, and that's the one I'll use here. Okay, so let's get started. So I have this cube right here. All right, and we're not going to be using this. We'll be using a cylinder instead. We will be modeling a wine bottle. Okay, so let's get rid of this one. Press X, delete. Okay, and make sure we are doing this in the front viewport orthographic. Very important. So from our previous lesson, our keyboard shortcut for that would be numpad 1, or you can also hit tilde front. Very important that you're there. Okay, so download the wine bottle photo that I have attached in your weekly lesson, or you can simply download any wine bottle that you want to copy online. So I'm going to click add here. Okay, and then image reference. After you do that, it will simply ask you which image you want to use. Okay, so I put it in the download section. If I go to my downloads here, wine bottle, okay, and voila, there it is. We're not going to change its size. We're going to leave it as is, and then we're going to just simply model on top of it. Okay, so for something like this, the reason why we deleted the cube is that we want to use a primitive object that's fairly close to what this thing looks like already, which is a cylinder. Okay, so let's add a cylinder. I'm going to go here, add mesh cylinder. By default, your cylinder is 32 verts or vertices. Okay, I'm going to leave this open, which is the initial parameter in Blender, or kind of in Softimage. Whenever you make a new object, you see its initial parameter. I'm going to leave that open in there so you could see it. We're going to leave 32 in there. That might be high poly if you're just if you're making game assets and you're going to populate it with 2,000 wine bottles. Okay, not recommended. But for this one, we will not be using subdivision surface to enhance its look by giving it a higher resolution look. We're just going to be talking about the new changes in auto smooth also in Blender. So all right, so we're going to leave it at 32. Okay, and I'm going to scroll my mouse wheel here to kind of zoom in a bit. I'm also going to go to X-ray mode, wireframe mode, and then make sure your X-ray mode is on. Okay, that means we can select sub-objects or points front and back with one rectangular selection. Okay, so next we're going to go to edit mode or hit tab. Okay, that's your keyboard shortcut, and we're going to kind of position this so that we can kind of scale it, right? Let's actually do a scale right now. So let me go back to object mode, sorry, and then just press S, okay, for scale, and then drag your mouse until that top part is almost the same diameter as that. Okay, that's it. If you're off by a bit, that's fine. So let's go back to edit mode. Make sure you're in point selection right there. Your keyboard shortcuts, by the way, if you're not using a emulate numpad, would be 1, 2, 3. 1 is for points, 2 is for edge, okay, then 3 is for polygon selection or face selection. So we're going to go to 1 right here, or points. We want to select the bottom, so I'm going to drag a rectangle right here. I'm going to pan down, so you can either do shift middle click drag or use this hand tool right here to pan down. Okay, I'm going to use the move tool here so I can visually show you that I'm grabbing the blue or Z axis to move this down right here. Okay, we're going to zoom in. I'm going mouse scroll, or you can use this zoom right here. And I'm going to lower this just a little bit right there. Keep in mind there's a little bit of distortion on this photo as well because of perspective. So we're going to compensate for that one. Okay, so I'm going to press S to scale and then drag my mouse until that kind of lines up. This photo is almost perfectly centered, so we're fine with that one. We probably need to scale that just a little bit more right there because there's some blurring and fringing right there, which is fine. Okay, so that part is we're going to leave that alone for now. We're going to go to the top one right here. Okay, I'm going to rotate the orbit the camera, middle click drag right here. I do want to select face selection right there, or keyboard shortcut number 3 on the alphanumeric, not the numpad. Okay, and select this face right here at the top. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the front orthographic, tilde front or numpad 1. Okay, and I'm going to extrude right here. Okay, so I'm going to extrude, press E to extrude. Since we are in front orthographic, this movement will only go up and down, so just move your mouse at this point. Okay, all right, so please do not hit multiple extrude thinking it will extrude it for you. Extrude command executes the extrude function by extruding the surface but not moving it. So we have students where they would press E, nothing is extruding because you have to extrude and transform, right? Extrude, move, rotate, or scale. So they would spam E until they have 2,000 planes right here on the top and the computer crashes. Okay, don't do that. You know you did multiple extrude because when you do this next step, like when you press S to scale, it doesn't scale like this. It's being left behind and what you're scaling is just on the top. Okay, so we're going to scale this so that it's almost the same thickness as the as that right there. Okay, and while we're here, let's kind of finish this modeling here. Okay, so we're going to extrude again. E, move it up, and scale. E, move it up. Okay, left click to finish the extrude. The movement. Press E, move it up, and then scale. All right, we're just eyeballing this. If those two are not matching, that's fine. Okay. All right, so the top part's pretty much done, and we just need to do that later on. And then here at the bottom, we're going to orbit the camera, select the bottom right there. Okay, make sure it's selected. We go back to the front. Okay, and then which is numpad 1 for me, or again tilde. Tilde is the key below escape. I'm going to press E right here, all the way down here, and then S to scale. All right, so how do we get that particular curvature right there? We can do bevel, but for now we're practicing with this tool. So please watch the previous lessons on edit mode tools, the edge loop cut. Okay, loop cut and extrude. These are pretty generic 3D tools. If you're using Maya, Softimage, 3ds Max, Lightwave, Cinema 4D, it's all the same. Okay, what you're learning here is not Blender specific. Okay, regarding editing, modeling, it's generic to all 3D programs. So it's just the keyboard shortcut is what's different. Okay, so right here we're gonna do a Control R. Control R. When you do Control R, and without clicking the mouse, okay, I'm not clicking the mouse, I'm just hovering it. If I park my mouse cursor on a vertical or a kind of upright kind of line, it gives me a horizontal cut. If I park it on a horizontal line, it gives me a vertical cut. Okay, so we want it right here. We just need one for now. Okay, I'm going to click this. Okay, to left click confirm it, And then after that, Blender asks you, hey, where do you want to position? Not that you made sure you only want one cut. So I do want it in the center. So what I'll do, instead of moving it up and down, I'm going to right click it to cancel the movement so it centers it. Okay. And then after that, we simply press scale and we go like that. So I know it's 32 verts here. It's high poly going this way, but you know, that's fine for now with the curvature. So we're only adding one. Okay. So now let's go here and let's finish this one. So I need a Control R right here, loop cut, Control R, left click to confirm. Now I move the mouse. I want it right there when that curvature is happening. Then press S. I'm going to scale it like so. All right, there it is. We want another one right here. Control R, left click to confirm, move the mouse. Okay, right there. Okay, and press S. All right, we probably should move that a little bit here. So don't. Oh yeah, you can move this on here. It's not a big deal for now. Press S again. Okay, so we got that. Okay, so do a Control R right here. Left click to confirm. Right click to cancel movement, and then we press S. So just we get that curvature going in, and then right here we're going to put one just dead smack center right there. Left click to confirm. Right click to cancel movement. Press S. Okay, and we're probably going to add one more here, and another one right here. All right, kind of like pseudo low poly, but not really. Okay. All right, so there's our model, and that we're going to go to object mode here. You see this empty right here, which we use for the reference for the photo. We don't need that for now. You can delete that now, or you can hide it, either way, so it doesn't show up. Okay. Now let's go to solid mode here and get rid of our X-ray right there, so we can see, okay, what we have. So it looks very faceted, very polygonal. And let's do the auto smooth. So from previous lesson, when we auto smooth this, there is a normals tab right here on our lessons that's now gone. All right, so how do we substitute for that? This is new to Blender 4.12 going up. Okay. Actually 4.2, because in 4.1 they did change it, and in 4.2 this is what it is now. Okay, so we have 3 ways to kind of smooth this, and make sure you have the object selected and you're in object mode. If I right click here, I have 3 options. Okay, shade smooth, auto smooth, and flat. So if I go shade smooth, it smooths the object. You can still tell, since this is a low poly model relatively, all right, you can still see how faceted it is, right? It has that video game look. Okay, it's smooth, but you can see, because we only did 1, 2, 3 cuts right here. Okay, so that's working fine, except we're starting losing detail on the lip right here. You can see where that lip will be, but it's smooth everything. Okay, so if I right click here and go shade flat, that's where we were. So what we want is a combination of the smoothness of the curvature, but we want to keep the rigidity or the sharpness of these lines right here, so it kind of separates that's the lip. Okay, again, if I shade smooth, that's what's happened. So what we need to do, kind of like from previous lesson, we go here and find normals, which it's not there. It's over. They kind of simplified that now. We find that here. Right click, shade auto smooth. When you do that, we get the sharp cut lines here, and we get the smoothness right here. Okay, and we still have the angle for the auto smooth. So if you go too crazy on this one, anything that's 30 degrees, 45 degrees, okay, so it eliminated anything 45 degrees, 60, so on and so forth. So we're good up to 36 right there, but just leave that at 30 degrees and you will get those creased corner right there. All right, so that's the first thing that you need to apply on the other lessons that's not there because it still uses the old version. Okay, so we got this. Let's now create the background for it. Okay, so a typical product shot, we need a cyclorama, meaning an endless background. So we're just going to start with a there's two ways we can do this. We can do a plane. Let's do the plane, so we can have a floor for this. Okay, so I'm in Orbit 3D camera right now. I'm going to add mesh plane. Okay, so there's our plane. Okay, what we want for this one is to move our glass on top of that. Okay, because let's use this grid as a floor. Okay, so I'll go to my move tool and then move it up. Go to 1 right there, which is, we know the plane is on this red one, so I'm just going to go G, keyboard shortcut, and then Z axis. And I'm going to move that down right there. Just kind of eyeball it, that it's sitting on top of the plane. We're going to select the plane this time, and we're going to scale it. Scale it about that much right there. Okay. So mine is like -8. So just kind of drag it like so. All right. So the green arrow is the back, right? Going front and back. So we want to move this a little bit back. Okay, right there. Now let's create the wall for it, for the back. So that's the back. Remember, X is the left and right here. This is the front. Okay, that's the back. Let's go to edit mode. Let's go to edge mode right here, or number 2 on your keyboard shortcut. Select the back edge. So very important here. What you're going to do is you don't want this skewing left or right. You want to extrude this just going straight. Okay, so one way to do that easily is to go to the front. So if I press numpad 1 right now, I'm in the front. Okay, and that, remember, that edge is still selected. Okay, that edge is still selected. I'm going to go to the front. So if I press E right now, okay, and I move that up, it's going up, but it's still kind of swaying left and right. Okay, so I right click to cancel the movement. Do I still have the extrusion? Yes, because I only right click to cancel the movement, not the extrusion. Okay, so if I grab this here, there it is, it's going up straight. Okay, so but that's besides the point. The lesson is, how do we make sure that that's straight when we extrude it? Okay, there's none right now, so because I did 2 undo. So if you press E to extrude and then add Z axis after that before you move the mouse, then when you move the mouse, no matter what you do with your mouse, it can only go up straight along the Z axis. So that's how we, in a way, can make sure that we are only extruding that's going straight up. Okay, okay, so make it as high as that because we do want to use it as a background right there. Okay, now we need to create the cyclorama or the endless background. So we want to make sure that this is a very smooth corner. So what we need to do here is to bevel this. So while in edit mode again, while this edge is still selected, and I'm just going to do a test right here. Okay, right click to cancel that I only have 1 extrusion. Some of you will make about 5 of these. Even though I warned you about extrusion before, you're not paying attention and you spam your E because it's not going up. All right, simply click undo all the way until you're back to when you were extruding this, or you can delete those manually by pressing X and then delete dissolve edge. Not delete edge, dissolve edge if you have extras. Okay. All right, so now that that's selected, right click, bevel edge, drag your mouse about there. Okay, and then we're going to add segments. Okay, fairly smooth right there, and that's it. So I hit tab, I go back to object mode, or from edit mode, go here, right click, shade smooth. Okay, so now that gives us the infinity background. Okay, we want to keep our background kind of matted here, and so what we'll do is later on when we add material. So that is the lesson for the auto smooth. Okay, now the next part of the lesson is Eevee. They changed Eevee in 4.2. They introduced Eevee Next, or simply called Eevee right now. So if I go here in our properties panel, where it goes all the way here where it says render, it looks like the back of a camera. Okay, you have render engine, and if I click this down arrow, we have 3 of these: Eevee, Workbench, and Cycles. Workbench is when you're just working in on your screen and you don't want any particular dazzles or realism to or your computer is dying. Workbench, okay, but we don't use that for anything, okay, for final output. However, there's 2 renders that matters in Blender: Eevee and Cycles. Cycles is the realistic renderer. Okay, this is the render engine if you want something realistic. Okay, probably think like, why not just use that? And that's our goal in rendering. Well, there's a price to pay in realism. Eevee might take 1 minute to render. Cycles might take 10 hours to render. Okay, using the exact same image and whatnot. So there's that. So Eevee is a real-time engine, kind of similar to a video game engine. Okay, you're seeing everything in real time. So if your computer is not good, then your screen will be choppy, so on and so forth. But Eevee is trying to be like Cycles, but a lot faster. So it's not exactly the same. It's not as good, but it is faster. So we're using this for a bunch of lessons or even our animations so that we could actually produce animations in a semester. Okay, so Eevee is what we're using for this one. Your next lesson will be rendering in Cycles. Okay, so we're now doing Eevee. The reason why this is important because all these things right here kind of change. In your old lesson, I asked you turn on bloom, turn on screen space reflection, so on. Those are all gone. It's a lot simplified now. However, those menus or items are missing, so we have to address those. Okay, so we are going to be using Eevee right here. So before we get to anywhere, let's set up our scene. Okay, first things first is the camera. Okay, there's our camera right there. So to view camera, you can click this icon right here. Okay, or press 0 on your numpad and you rock that back and forth. So this is your working camera. Okay, this is your rendering camera. Your rendering camera is what's is your output. Okay, so that's pointed there. So if I go here, render image, it's going to take a photo of that. Okay, using this camera, not this working camera you're using now. Okay, so very important, we need to make sure we can control this. So if I press this to go to the camera view or tilde camera, okay, view camera, okay, once I middle click drag the mouse to orbit the camera, we lose the camera. So it's like it goes back to working camera. Okay, we want to lock our camera, so when we do orbit the camera, pan or zoom or dolly forward, truck forward, okay, it's locked. So the first thing is we need to turn on our sidebar keyboard shortcut N as in numbers. Okay, and we navigate here on the 3rd tab. You won't see screencast keys. This is just me showing all the keys that I'm pressing. Okay, so you go to view and then you put lock camera to view. You put a check mark on this. When you check mark this, okay, you see this padlock right here. There it is. Okay, so this is a way to lock the camera so that when I orbit the camera, it doesn't go out. Okay, so let's unhide the sidebar. Let's just use the icon here. Okay, unlock it. There you go. I went outside. So you want to make sure that's locked. Okay, so you can only see that when you're in camera mode, and then lock it. Okay, now that it's locked, okay, I can now position the camera. So I'm going to rotate this so that it's kind of front and then kind of eyeballing it. I'm going to zoom out a bit. Okay, I'm going to pan. And then since this is a product shot, I'm going to kind of center my camera in there and then kind of pan this a little bit. All right. Next thing we want to do with the camera is do a product lens focal length, which is typically long. We don't want distortion. We don't want any of that curvature at the top. You'll notice in product photography that this is almost kind of flat, like if you look at bottles, perfumes, and all that stuff. So while the camera is selected, we're going to go here to the camera tab in the properties panel, green camera right here. We're going to change our focal length from 50, which is a normal wide, to something like 200 millimeter. All right, so it's like a extreme close-up camera. Okay, so while we're here, I'm going to click on pan and then just kind of center that and then zoom out. Okay, we're going to zoom out and then pan, and we do want some headroom in there depending on you know, what you're trying to do. So I'm going to go like so. All right. Okay, so we're just going to center it right there. Okay, so now that we're happy with our camera, okay, this is our camera framing on this one, you want to unlock this, okay, because if you don't unlock this, each time you do a movement here, because you want to work now, we're going to add lights and whatnot, you lose this camera. So you're going to, I know it's kind of like a reverse, right? So when you unlock this, it actually preserves the camera and you won't move it by accident. So now if I orbit, so you can see I get, you know, in a way, spit it out of that image, I mean that projection right there. I'm out here doing work, okay? And when you want to go back in, you click that and then there's your camera, okay? Again, if this thing is still locked, you went like this a little bit. Okay, that, as you can see, it destroyed the camera setting, okay, or the camera framing. So put that back right there real quick, and then we're going to unlock this. Okay, so that's the same thing as unchecking the lock camera to view. All right, so now I can freely move and then work on my camera. Okay, so we want to preview, and if you have the power to do this, you do want to preview what that looks like in real time. Okay, so from our previous lesson, we have wireframe in our shading viewport solid mode. This is material preview. Okay, so this is not realistic lighting, folks. It's trying to light it everywhere so that you could easily see it. You could even say that it's like HDRI lighting here, but this is not final output. Okay, all right, so we have this is what it looks like. Remember, we have one default light right there. If I go render image right now, meaning render the scene, okay, that's what it looks like. Nothing even close to this. Okay, so if we go to the final sphere or the render viewport shading here, it gives you what you see is what you get. So always be here when you're ready for lighting and camera and all that, because you want to see what this exactly looks like. So we don't want this default point light. We want to delete it. So press X and delete. Okay, you see a little bit of ambient lighting here, which is fine because of what we want is we could see a little bit of it. Okay, so don't worry about this. So we'll actually work with this. So let's create our first light. Okay, I'm gonna go here to wireframe mode so we could see where that light is when we actually add it. So we're gonna add one light here, and it's gonna be an area light. Okay, an area light is a soft light, meaning it creates soft shadows. Okay, so there it is. It's pointed at the bottom, so you can't see it. Okay, but I just want to show you where it's at. Okay, if we go to the front, numpad 1 right there, it's pointed down here, so we want to make sure this one is pointing that way. All right, so I'm going to press R to rotate it, but I'm also going to add control, so I'm going to press R and I'm going to hold down control. I'm not letting go of control. When you do that, when you rotate your camera, I mean object, it snaps to 5-degree increments, so we can make sure that that thing is rotated perfectly 90-degree rotation. So if I go to my sidebar right here, there it is, it rotated along the y-axis. Okay, so R So you can do this with anything, with any transform, like with grab and scale as well. Okay, so it's right there. So we're just going to move this one here all the way to the edge of our background, and then I'm going to press S here to scale this. I want this. Oops, sorry. There we go. Not that big. Okay, around right there. Kind of big. Okay, and we want to move this one up, and let's scale this a little bit. Maybe that's too big. Okay, right there. Okay, so now let's see what this looks like. All right, there it is. It's not beaming anything. It's not adding anything to the scene, because while this area light is selected, as you can see here, it only has 10 watts. So let's increase the power. Let's go to 500. All right, 500 watts. Maybe too bright, but we'll leave that for now. Well, let's go 350. Okay, or 250. So that. All right, so there's that. If we go to our camera, that's what it looks like. So it's kind of have moody, dramatic lighting. 1-point lighting is what we call this. Okay. All right. So we're gonna go outside. So we want this, another one on the other side. Okay, perfectly the same. So I'm gonna go to the front orthographic. We're gonna duplicate it. The keyboard shortcut for duplication is Shift D. Again, when you duplicate Shift D, you have a duplicate in there. And you see, I don't see it because it duplicated the exact position as the original, and you will not see it. So we have students that would spam 200 of these Shift D until their computer crashed. Don't do that. There's already one in there. So we just want to rotate that so it's pointing the other way. So after Shift D, you press R to rotate, hold down Control, and then you move your mouse until it points the other way. Then we simply move that on the other side. So now we have this look right here. So if I go to my camera, and as you can see, my camera is not centered right there. So kind of center that camera. Press 0. Oops, sorry. Okay, right there. And let me go to the top. Let me look at my camera. Let's see the rotation. Probably off a little bit right there. So I'm going to press N. And that is Z-axis. So Z-axis I'm sorry, right here, Z-axis rotation, right? For the camera, I'm going to put 0 here so that it's perfectly centered. Okay, let me go back to front viewport. Okay, I'm just kind of eyeballing that it's centered. Okay, there it is. So it's really centered now. Okay, so there's that. Let's add another light. We're going to copy this again. We're going to use this as our backlight. Okay, one of these guys here. So I'm going to duplicate it again, Shift D. Hold down Control, press R, sorry, to rotate. Hold down Control so that it's pointing down. Okay, we're going to move this up here. Okay, so let's go to the side, till the right side. Okay, and let's pan until we see the lighting, or you can also press dot on your numpad to center the selection. So I'm on the side right here. It looks like the front, but don't get confused. This is the side. So I'm going to press R and kind of rotate that a little bit, like so. Okay, all right, there it is. So that it's kind of like backlighting it. Okay, let me save this one real quick, in case I crash. All right, so it's backlighting a bit. Move that a little bit back right there. All right, so there's that. So that's our lights, and for now, okay, and then we can add another one right here. Let's add that. So we're going to do 4-point lighting. So add, and we'll get a formal lesson on this. Okay, this is like a crash course. So add a point light. Okay, it's the bottom of the bottle. We're going to move it up so it's at the center of the bottle right there. And then we're going to move this here. Its purpose is to light the background right there. Okay, it's not doing a good job because it's kind of weak. It's only 10 watts. Okay, so we're going to make that, let's say, 50 watts. And then we're going to increase the radius. Okay, so this is the soft kind of distribution for it. Okay, so let's take a look at our camera. Let's turn off our sidebar here. Okay, and then let's increase that to, let's say, 150 watts. Okay, so there it is. So we're kind of getting a splash for that background. Then let's make that a little dramatic. Let's give it a hit of color. Okay, there we go. And we'll decide what that color will be later. Okay, all right, so we're probably going to do the opposite right here. Okay, I'm just giving it a, I mean, you can go crazy here, and you know, that might be good right there. Okay, so it has that kind of lighted soft light in the back. Okay, and it's not hitting the bottom right here because it's not a lighting demo. It's just sort of we get a separation. Okay, all right, so we have all our lights. We have 4 lights. Now we go to this one here for materials. Okay, but before that, let's just I'm going to leave the background as white. So I'm going to select our background right here, and I'm going to go to the materials tab. So if you go to the properties panel, it's this sphere at the bottom. There is no material for this, so we're going to make a new one. Okay, click that, new, and this is the background white. Okay, and let's go to base color. Let's make sure it's pure white all the way to the top, really white right there. Okay, and then it's going to ask, hey, do you want this shiny or not shiny? So that's the roughness right there. So if we were to see that, if I go to roughness right here all the way to like 0, so you can see it's a very reflective, like a plexiglass style background, which sometimes you want, but for this one we don't want that. So we want that almost 1. Okay, there's no such thing as roughness 1 on this planet, so 0.97 would do. We select our bottle. We want this to be click new, and then we're going to call this one glass. Okay, we're going to call this one glass. Okay, and we're going to set this up now. All right, so this is the difference. So now in previous lessons, like with anything involving glass, like the Kodak Brownie camera lesson, when you get to that part where I since that's the old Eevee, you do not follow my lesson on glass. You go back here, and this is what we're using in Eevee. Anything that's Eevee related, you go back to this lesson. This is the updated lesson. Okay, so how do we make this glass? It's basically transmission. Okay, transmission is what makes it transparent and glass looking, but part of what makes it glass is this roughness here. If we drop this to like 0.1, okay, not 0, because again, real world values on those, I mean, you can, but I'm just putting a little bit of a value there. It's already kind of working more like ceramic or porcelain right now. Okay, so there it is. So base color, let's give this a dark bluish glass type right there. Okay, so there it is. It's not looking like transparent glass, but definitely looking like shiny glass at this point. Okay, so what we want with transmission, we're gonna scroll down here, is to turn this on. Okay, and give it weight. But before that, we need to turn on ray tracing. Okay, so we go to the engine, Eevee render engine section of this. Okay, and then what used to be bloom, screen space reflection, all those options, ambient occlusion, those are gone now. They're active by default. Okay, well, not bloom, because bloom now we have to go to post-production. We need to turn on ray tracing, so I'm going to put ray tracing in here. Okay, ray tracing now, if we open this, there's a resolution tab right here. Okay, so we're only rendering half resolution at this point. If I go to 0 here, this might have a slight blurriness depending on your resolution in your monitor. So you want this on 1.1. Basically, you are rendering it with no degradation. Okay, it uses a lot of memory though. So while you're working, you can leave this as 1.2 or 1.4. So as long as you can see the difference when you make changes, but when you're ready to render, you want that on 1.1. Okay, so ray tracing is on. we're leaving everything as default. Okay, 64 samples only. We might need to increase those, but jittered shadows also, we might have to enable that. You know, if you see if you're bothered with the noise that you're seeing, but it's always on when you render. Okay, all right, so all we did is turn on ray tracing here. Okay, so now we go with the bottle selected, we go to our material right here, and we open up transmission, and then I'm going to drag this all the way there to 1. Okay, so that gave it that kind of glass look, but it's not, we're not seeing any difference. Okay, we are not seeing any difference because we need to go down at the settings, okay, and then turn on ray trace transmission. Okay, so as you can see here, watch it over here. All right, there's that. Okay, and now we want to change the thickness from sphere to slab, okay, which will give us a better kind of look for it. Okay, and then we can also change the alpha. Okay, watch this. I'm going to lessen it a bit. Okay, and when I do that, you get a little bit of transparency. So now we have kind of like a transparent glass right here. If we have an object in the back, it'll be more obvious how you're going to be seeing it. Okay, and we could also make this one, we can add solidify on this and give it thickness. All right, so alpha right here will make it transparent. Okay, very transparent. So in the Kodak camera lesson, you're going to have to dial this down because you want those glass lenses for the camera and the TLR viewfinder to be transparent. So you got to slide this down with alpha. Okay, but for this purpose right here, we're going to be happy with just that kind of look right there. Excuse me. All right, so we're almost done here. Okay, so all we did is turn on rendered method, ray trace, and then we put thickness as a slab right here. Okay, another thing we can do also is to enhance the transparency here, and we need to add some mix shaders. So this is a little bit more advanced. We haven't done any formal lesson on this, so just kind of follow along on this one. Okay, so I'm going to go to shading tab, okay, which is the shading workspace. So when you do that, okay, it jumps you to a new kind of setup just so that you can easily work on this. Okay, so right here, let's go to camera mode so you can see it. Make sure you are in final render. Okay, and let's scroll here, zoom out, select material output here, and just kind of spread that a little bit. Okay, so what we want to add here is a transparent shader, and we want to mix it. So let's add that first. So go add shader transparent BSDF. So once you click that, it'll be floating here, and just leave it there. Now we want to mix this with the material, so we need a mixer. So we go add shader, mix shader. Okay, and you can just drop that here along the noodle, and it will automatically connect. Okay, if it didn't connect for you, so just drag this noodle and then click on shader right there, and then shader to surface. Nothing is actually made it look worse right here because we're not mixing anything yet. We have a factor of 0.5. So we want this transparent BSDF. Plug this to this shader right here, node. Okay, as you can see here, it the transparency on that is it's like it's working as if we have the alpha, right? But that alpha now is replaced by the shader right here. Okay, so now we can go here with our factor, and we can lower this. Okay, like so, just a little bit, maybe a 0.1. Okay, and that gives it kind of like a double transparency effect, I guess, for a lack of a better word, but it just kind of enhances the transparency a little bit, and you can play with that however you want, or you can just totally ignore it. Okay, so now let's do a render image, and you can pick a better background color than what I did. I just want it kind of separated. And so there's that. Okay, and of course you increase this, you get more transparency. Okay, so instead of the alpha now, alpha is replaced by this factor shader. Let's render this one. As you can see, the color of the background is see-through. Okay, and it's very noisy. And what we need to do with this is simply go to Eevee right here. The render sample is what matters. Viewport sample is what you see on the screen. So you can see here, if I increase this to 200, it will clean this up, you know, and it's doing it in real time right now. It's slowly decreasing it, so I don't recommend that, because we can kind of preview using just 16. Render samples here is what matters. So if I go here 300, okay, it will increase your rendering, but we're only rendering one frame. Okay, so let's take a look here. And this is an M2 Mac. If I'm doing this on my gaming rig, it would be a lot faster. So we just have to wait right here in real time, or you can fast forward the video. Hopefully I didn't crash. If I do crash, there you go. It took 22 seconds, and this is just HD resolution. Okay, it's much cleaner. Okay, but you can increase that, of course, to 500, and then we can do more optimization here, but for now that will do. And simply, this is a lesson on the new Eevee, especially with glass, and these are the ones that are in ray tracing, so that if you're looking for ambient occlusion, screen space reflection, those are all gone. And finally, the auto smooth function in 4.2 versus the previous one. So watch this video first. When you get to the lessons that requires you to add glass, clear glass, and then auto smooth, refer back to this lesson. Okay.